Now it's recording. Sweet. That's the beginning of my oral history interview. I'm a professional. Just kidding. Okay, so the first question I wanted to ask you was when did you first kind of know you wanted to be a librarian?
See, that's a bit of a complicated story. I mean, I always liked libraries. When I was like 15, 16, my mother kept telling me to be a librarian, but at the time I didn't want to. I thought it was like mousy and like you go around saying shush and everything. So at first I wanted to go into education. So after undergrad, my first master's I got was in education. But then I realized I wasn't very strong when it came to like discipline and classroom management. So then I thought maybe I'd go into academia. And I got my second degree in like medieval Jewish history, which I loved, but I figured why write a dissertation if 5 people on earth will read it? Somebody else might have written it first. They'll then rip it apart, and then there's no guarantee after your 10 years of research on medieval Provençal culinary customs that you could successfully defend it. So then I figured after speaking to my professors, maybe my mom was right all along, and as a reference librarian, I could have the combination of helping people out, but also like working with more scholarship, and that's how I wound up going into that field.
Oh, that's really cool. What made you want to be a reference librarian?
I guess reference interested me because there was that teaching combination, but there was no discipline, as opposed to say if you're a school librarian or there's no discipline involved. And also reference, I always enjoyed like the reference interview format, and just in a way it's like you're the one in control of the information. And they come to you, and I always felt so helpful when the students came with that deer in the headlights look when they have a paper to write, they don't know where to start, they don't know where to think, and like they found sources, they don't know if they're reliable, and like my job is just sort of help them take it step by step, walk it through, and I always just enjoyed doing that.
Really cool. So when did you first like learn about library science being a degree you could get, or like the library science program?
I think that would be when I was 2014 or so. I had a friend who was getting her MLS at Queens College, and so she was telling me about the program there and telling me what she was studying in there, and I thought it actually and I was like, you actually need a degree for this? I thought it was just I'm sure that's common that most library students think, like, you really need a degree for this. And it's like, surprise. Then question number 2 is always, why do we need librarians? But there's Google. Okay, for your information, check LIS 203, I think. Which one is the one about introduction to information literacy or something?
204.
204,
yes.
204. Go check that one. But either way, when my friend was telling me about it, I realized it's actually something structured that I figured maybe I should actually pursue this. And at the time, I wasn't interested in Queens because at the time they had just lost their ALA thing from New York State, and I know that once that happens, it's not really worth the paper it's on. And also the other schools I looked at were just too far away and too expensive. And so I liked that St. John's was small, and you had like smaller departments, and you could know your professors better, and getting like a GA job covering my tuition really helped. So off I went.
So cool. And you said you were a GA in fundraising department.
Yeah, officially it's called, like, I forget the exact, the institutional advancement.
Yes.
Something. I forget the exact formal name. But think like, it wasn't directly connected to library science per se, but in a way I feel like I did, because there was a lot of research involved, and prospect management. Yes, prospect management. Where there was a lot of research involved in, say, making sure the information for the prospects were up to date, or if they get a new job or a promotion, and also digging through these long articles that maybe there might be 2 or 3 things that might prove interesting for a prospect's file, like reading a long article and realizing they work in a certain field, so maybe they would like St. John's events connected to that field, or maybe they got a promotion, or they got married, or had a child, and that might be good opportunities for fundraising to come after you. So in a way, I was using my research reference skills there.
That's really cool.
Even if the job was not specifically a library science GA job per se.
Yeah, but kind of like how you could apply at different places. Mm-hmm. That's really cool, though, you got to do that. And then, where are you right now?
Let's see. Right now, I work as the weekend reference librarian at Yeshiva University. And so, like, they have 2 different libraries there. They've got the main undergrad one, and they have one specializing in, like, specifically with like Judaica, they have stuff there dating back to 12th century, 13th century stuff. And so I work as the reference. I work the reference librarian up there, where, as anyone in reference knows, you have to answer every question from the sublime to the ridiculous, and take every question with utmost seriousness, even if you think it is the dumbest question in the world.
I love that. And then what year did you graduate?
Last May.
You graduated last May.
Like May 2017 for formal purposes.
Oh, that's always nice.
I mean, I would have graduated earlier, except my last semester I had depression, which sort of messed up with my coursework, but also with the portfolio. So Dr. Vorbach was great and just said, like, oh, just get through these 3, and then you could spend spring semester working on the portfolio. Oh, and so that's sort of what put off my graduation semester. But officially graduated like May 2017.
Dr. Vorbach really is.
Yeah, he's just such
amazing.
Such a nice person, like just so patient. Like I feel like he just like really cares about everybody.
Oh yeah, no, he really does. So, what are kind of your career goals then for the future? You want to continue? You say you want to continue working and as a reference librarian.
Yeah,
right?
I like it. I mean, the one challenge is that there isn't really a lot of opportunity for further professional development because it's a bit of an aging field, and it's really just. You have to wait for the people ahead of you to either, forgive the crass term, retire or die. Or you have to hope there's a grant and expansion. And when it comes to universities, when there are budget cuts, unfortunately, sometimes the library gets hit. But ideally, if I could stay in reference, that would be ideal for me, though. I also specialized when I was here in public, so I'd be willing to go work in public librarianship or work for a private collection or...
That's cool.
Just in general, as long as it's mostly reference.
Oh, yeah. How do you think reference is kind of going to change? Because I know, like you were saying, in 204, you talk a lot about reference librarians and, like, you know, in the digital age, how it's all changing. Kind of like, what do you think it's going to become in the future?
Let's see. I mean, I feel like one important thing which they emphasized a lot here that professor was the importance of true, we have information overload. Just type anything into Google, you get it. But also just knowing how to finesse it, because you might see any article and assume, oh, it's on the internet, it's reliable, right? No, it could be totally biased. It could be totally fake news made up by some Russian trolls. Like, you have no idea if this is somebody's random paper. And like a real shock for me is working with college students when they come to me asking what a peer-reviewed article is, and some of them didn't really know what it was, and I had to show them, no, peer-reviewed articles are important because it gives a certain professional emphasis to your article, and like it says other professors have read it, other people in the field have read it, they can verify it, they might have replicated your experiments. Like, it's a higher level of information, of accuracy for the information than, say, any random undergrad article you might Google. So I feel like with reference, that's going to become a big part of it.
So then, okay, I know a big part of like the program, and especially with the portfolio, is talking about the different competencies. When did you first kind of become aware that there were like the 8 LA competencies that you have to learn about and know about?
Ironically, actually, I think it was Dr. Angel. Where she mentioned about how this blog post and this presentation can fit some of the requirements in your portfolio thingy, and I actually wasn't very familiar with what it was, so I had to look it up and realize in order to graduate you have to find different artifacts for the portfolio. And at first I wasn't happy because I'm the sort who would rather write a 200-page paper, write a 30-page paper, or take a test, and I don't like these performance assessment things. But I mean, once she mentioned it, and I was able and start using those artifacts, after a while I was able to keep an eye in every class, put aside, oh, this might be interesting, or sometimes we had a professor who very kindly said, this might be useful for your portfolio. So I'd say just different professors either mentioned it or I stored it away from my own self-keeping, and then when I put the portfolio together, all the artifacts were there. All I had to do was just organize them and write the sort of synopsis underneath about, this is my artifact, this is how it demonstrates proficiency in this core competency, etc., etc.
So for Dr. Angel's class, where did you do the academic service learning and then do the artifact?
It was at Marymount.
Oh, was it Marymount?
It was interesting in like their performing arts library. I don't know if you saw that as an option.
No.
So they have this performing arts library, and there was a private donor who had donated a collection of theater reviews and dance reviews, and we had to catalog and we had to archive them. And for me, actually, I mean, I know it's your field, so I'm sorry, but like for me doing it at the time I thought maybe I'd like archiving, but at the time I just found it very tedious. And there were times I felt I had to talk to myself out loud to hear another voice in the room. So it was interesting though, because it gave me an actual hands-on experience what archiving is, like how it works, and I could see like little by little how the work we were doing was making a difference. Like you could see like maybe when the next semester students come, they'll have less to do because we did because you could actually point to what you did and said, I did this.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was interesting. I found a theater review for a really obscure play which nobody had ever heard of.